Hello everyone. So yesterday, as part of learning communication of offer and acceptance, we've seen the various modes of communication and various rules with relate to this. So we are in the course of learning this communication of special conditions. We'll continue this part. Fine. So, as I was mentioning yesterday, when we take a train ticket, there are like some conditions printed on the back side of the ticket. But usually we never see those conditions. We never read those conditions completely. So, law says, in spite of whether you read or not, once you take a train ticket and board the train, you are bound by those special conditions. So, that is what law says. Okay. So, if you read through here, it says sometimes there are situations where the contracts with special conditions, these special conditions are conveyed tacitly. Tacitly in the sense, here in the case of train ticket, no one is expressing those conditions, right? Just you are taking the train ticket. So no one is manually expressing, though it is written over there, no one is asking you to read and all that. But in spite of that, just taking the ticket is like you are bound by those. So that is why they use the word tacitly over here. Tacit means silent, right? Yeah. Are conveyed silently, and the acceptance of these conditions are also conveyed by the offeree again tacitly. Yeah, we taking the train ticket is everything by act, right? We do not express by words. So conveyed by the offeree again tacitly, that is silently or without him even realizing it. Yeah, without sometimes we don't even read those. So without even realizing, we are giving our acceptance there tacitly. So that is the essence of communication of special conditions. Mostly this would be in the train tickets and all that cases. So there's been one case law called Mukul Datta versus Indian Airlines here. If you read through that case law, this particular Mukul Datta traveled from Delhi to Kolkata by air. Okay, so there are few conditions. He is definitely court of law said the moment you board the aeroplane by taking that condition, you are just bound by those. So that is the judgment given in this case. So when someone travels from one place to another by air, it could be seen that the special conditions are printed at the back of the air ticket in small letters, in very small letters. Even these in a non-computerized train ticket, gone are those days where we have non-computerized train ticket. So sometimes these conditions are found to have been displayed at the notice board of the airline's office. Sometimes all the conditions printed on the ticket are written on the or displayed on the notice board of the airline's office, which though there is a notice board, we generally don't read all the conditions, right? So the question here is whether these conditions can be considered to have been communicated to the passengers of the airlines, and can the passengers be treated as having accepted the conditions. The question is, there's a notice board, there are conditions written on the back side of the ticket. So now when a particular passenger doesn't read those conditions, is he still bound by those conditions? Yes. The here everything is going tacit. The moment you take the ticket and board the particular train or an aeroplane, done. You are said to be tacitly, silently accepting that through your conduct. Okay. And there's one more case law here regarding this special conditions. So here the case law is Lily White versus R Manuswamy. So the customer launderer gives receipt of clothes for the customer. So Manuswamy, she gave few clothes for dry cleaning at this Lily White. Okay, the receipt carries special conditions. So after giving a sari, she got back the receipt, and the receipt has got special conditions. And as we already learnt, though she read out the conditions or not, they are just bound by that. So on the back side of the that particular receipt, there's a condition says upon damage, or if in case there is you lose your sari or something like that, 15% of the market value will be returned. So this was the condition written. So Manuswamy lost her sari in the course of this dry cleaning. So then she filed a case against this Lily White dry cleaning shop saying that I am eligible for 100% of the market value. But there's already a special condition on the backside of that particular receipt, right? So irrespective of whether she read the conditions or not, she's bound by that. So court gave the verdict saying that you will be eligible to receive only 15% of market value because there is a special condition written on the backside of the receipt. So now we need to be very careful. There might be few conditions which we never pay attention to, but whether you read or not, law says we are bound by that. So it's always good to learn all the conditions that are printed on any sort of ticket or receipt. Okay. Yeah. This is the case law for the tacit special conditions, communication of special conditions. And there's one topic called standard form of contracts, which is again similar to special conditions. A standard form of contract, okay, may be enforced on another who is subjectively unaware of the contents of the document. Just like in the case of this Lillywhite versus R. Manuswamy, Manuswamy was never aware of the contents of that particular document, but still a contract may be enforced on her. Okay, that's the essence of this. So, provided the party wanting to enforce the contract has given notice. Yeah, provided the particular here, the Lillywhite, the dry cleaner has given the notice by printing the special conditions, okay, on the receipt. On the receipt they have printed, so at least the notice was given. That's why this Lillywhite was in the safer side, and the verdict or the decision of the court was given in their favor because it gave the notice of all the special conditions by printing on the receipt. Okay, only when notice of all the conditions are made, then we will be bound by that irrespective of whether we are aware of that or not. But the acceptor will not incur any contractual obligation if the document is so printed and delivered to him in such a state that it does not give reasonable notice on its face and that it contains certain special conditions. Sometimes it might happen that the document is not printed properly or there's no clarity as such. In that case, at least court considers to give the verdict or decision in the favor of the acceptor. That is in this case R. Manuswamy. If in case the receipt printed by Lillywhite is not clear or the conditions are itself not visible in there, then court might consider R. Manuswamy's petition and it might be in favor of this. Only when if the conditions are not printed correctly. But in this case the conditions are printed correctly and everything is done, so that's why the decision is in the favor of Lillywhite. Okay. In the connection, let us consider a converse situation. For example, we'll see a situation where court is in favor of this R. Manuswamy instead of the Lillywhite. We'll see such a situation. There's one case law, that is Raipur Transport Company versus Ghanshyam. In this case, the transport carrier accepted the goods for transport without any conditions. Initially, when this Ghanshyam approached this Raipur Transport, they accepted the goods without imposing any conditions. Subsequently, they've issued a circular to all the owner of the goods, including Ghanshyam, who is the owner of the good. They've included a circular saying that they are not responsible for the limiting his liability for the goods, saying that I would not be responsible for the lost goods or damaged goods, something like that. They just, after accepting the goods, subsequently they issued a circular. So in this case, all the owners of the goods are not bound by the special conditions. They are not bound by the circular because they are aware of this after the goods are handed over to the transport company, right? If the special conditions are imposed after everything, handing over goods, everything is done, then owners are not bound by it. That is the verdict given here. Got it? So we must be aware of the aware in the sense that special conditions should be at least printed, that we should have the printed form at the time of we handing over the goods, something like that. Later on, if they come up with a circular, then we are not bound by it. Okay? So there are two important cases, Lillywhite versus R. Manuswamy. In the first case, Lillywhite has printed all the special conditions clearly, so the decision was in the favor of Lillywhite. In the second case, in the Raipur Transport Company versus Ganesham, at the time of handing over the goods, there were no conditions at all. Subsequently, they have issued a circular that is not valid. Okay, only at the time of handing over the goods, if all the special conditions have been printed and that receipt is given to us, then we are bound by that. So that is this communication of special conditions. Now we will come to our next topic, communication of performance. Okay, communication of performance, just like communication of offer and acceptance, in some cases communication of performance may also play a key role. Maybe while entering into the contract, offerer might say that the moment you start performing the contract, you'll have to give me a communication. So this sort of terms might be entered. So that's where we are required to learn this communication of performance. Let's see. As we have already discussed in terms of section 4, communication of a proposal is complete. Again, this is the repetition of the same thing that we did. When is the communication of the proposal is complete? When it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. Yeah, we've seen this. As regards acceptance of the proposal, the same would be viewed from two angles. We've seen this as well. In the case of acceptance of, communication of acceptance per proposal, we said as soon as letter of acceptance is posted by acceptor. Yesterday we have learned this. So the moment the letter of acceptance is posted by acceptor, the communication of acceptance is complete against the proposal. But for the acceptor, only when the letter of acceptance reaches the offerer or proposer, then it is said to be complete. Okay, we've seen this. The same thing is repeated over here from the viewpoint of the proposer, from the viewpoint of the acceptor. From the viewpoint of the proposer, when the acceptance is put in the course, the moment the letter of acceptance is posted, is put in the course of transmission, when it would be out of the power of acceptor. From the viewpoint of the acceptor, it would be complete when it comes to the knowledge of the proposer. Okay, letter of acceptance reaches proposer. It should come. The proposer should read that letter as well. Okay. Yeah. At times, offeree may be required to communicate the performance. We'll see. Sometimes I told you the offerer may impose a condition that the moment you start the performance of the contract, communicate it to me. But if you see in the Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke and Smokeball Company, so here actually this Carbolic and Smokeball Company, they've given a newspaper advertisement saying that these Carbolic and Smokeball Company, they are manufacturing this smoke balls. Smoke balls are nothing but just like the inhalers we use for cold and all that. So what they said was, whoever used these smoke balls or inhalers, these inhalers are used to cure influenza. They said, in spite of using this, if you get contracted with influenza, we'll pay you a reward. That is what their advertisement was. But in this newspaper advertisement, they never mentioned that when you start using this, or when you start using this is itself the performance. Okay, they never said you'll have to communicate to us the performance. Okay, they never have come up with this rule in the advertisement. So Carlyle has started using this smoke ball. She started inhaling that. In spite of inhaling that, she was contracted with influenza. So immediately she went to claim a reward, saying that I've used this. In spite of using, I've been contracted with influenza, so I'm eligible for the reward. I can claim the reward. Give me the reward. Then this smoke company was like, yes, you have started using the smoking balls, but you never intimated us about your performance. So then Carlyle filed a case against this smoke ball company, saying that in the newspaper they said whoever uses, because this is a general offer, if you see, it is made to public in general. So in the newspaper they said whoever uses and are contracted, in spite of using, if they are contracted with influenza, they can claim a reward. So this was the advertisement given. So after seeing the advertisement, since this is a general offer, I started using the smoke balls. Then court said, yes, here in the newspaper advertisement, never they mentioned that the particular public should communicate the performance. That is, once they started using the smoking balls, they'll have to communicate the usage of the smoking balls. This was never a condition or never a criteria advertised in the newspaper. So Carlyle is had the petition is valid because she did not violate any condition. As they mentioned, she just used those. So in this case, the judgment was given in the favor of Carlyle. In this case, communication of performance is not required. But in some cases, communication of performance is required when the offerer wants that to be done. If in case in this newspaper advertisement, this Carbolic and Smokeball company have said that everyone using who has started using should communicate to us. If that sort of sentence is made, then Carlyle's petition would have not been stood. Just because there was no condition of that sort mentioned, Carlyle won the case. So that's the sense. The position was clearly explained in the famous case law, right? So you should understand the difference. Only when the proposer or offerer says you should communicate the performance, then you'll have to communicate the performance. Otherwise, that is not said to be complete. We'll see. From this case law, they said an offer to be capable of acceptance must contain a definite promise by the offerer that he would not bound provided the terms specified by him are accepted. Okay. An offer may be made either to a particular person or to the yes, this is a Carlyle versus Carbolic and Smokeball company case law is a public general offer made to public at large. If an offer is made in the form of a promise in return of an act, we saw in this case law, Carlyle using the smoke balls itself, that particular act itself is the acceptance. Yeah, the performance of that act, even without any communication thereof, it is treated to the acceptance of the offer. Yes, even there's no communication, even then it is the usage of that smoking balls is itself considered as acceptance of the offer. Fine. Now we are done with understanding what is an offer, what is an acceptance. We have learned how an offer should be communicated and all that. Now we'll see there is definitely when an offer is made, conditions are also made for revocation of that. Revocation is nothing but taking back. Okay, taking back. After making an offer, maybe there might be some circumstances where you wanted to take back the offer, or after giving the acceptance there might be some circumstances where you wanted to take back that acceptance. So law is giving us that leverage to call back the offer or acceptance. Let's see what are the rules that law says. Again, even for the communication we've seen the same section, and even for the revocation it's the section 4. Communication of revocation of the proposal or its acceptance is complete as against the person who makes it when it is put into a course of transmission to the person to whom it is made. Okay, as against the person to whom it is made, it comes to the, I mean, it's just the same case, just like we have communication of acceptance. So for the person who wants to revoke, from the view of person who wants to reverse, the communication is said to be complete when this may be a letter or whatever is put in course of transmission. Okay. But to whom this revokal is made, for that person, this is said to be complete when it comes to his knowledge. Okay, that's the difference. Obviously, I mean, until this other person, suppose this is A, until this other person reaches that particular letter, reaches him and he reads it, it is not said to be complete. Okay? And the above law can be illustrated as follows. If you revoke your proposal made to me by a telegram, the revocation will be complete as far as you concern when you have dispatched the telegram. That is, you put in the course of transmission. From your standpoint of time, the moment you post the letter or dispatch the telegram, it is done from your end. Communication is revocation is done from your end. But as far as the other party is concerned, it is complete only when they receive the telegram or the letter and it comes to their knowledge. Okay. Revocation of acceptance, again the same thing. If I can revoke my acceptance by a telegram, this revocation of acceptance by me will be complete when I dispatch the telegram. Yeah, same. And against the other party, when it reaches the other party or it comes to his knowledge. So across for the communication, there is just one rule. Against the person who makes that communication, the communication is said to be complete the moment the communication is in the course of transmission, maybe by post or by telegram. But for the other party, the communication is said to be complete only when it comes to their knowledge. So throughout this communication, this is the base rule. The important question for consideration is when a proposal can be, yes, when you are revoking it, fine, but there should be some timing, right? Or else if a law doesn't give a specific time within which it can be revoked, people will be like making silly contracts. They would be offering something and again taking back whenever they want. All this sort of disturbances would happen. So that's the reason law is very particular as to when this revocal and all the revocation, all this can happen, and when an acceptance or offer can be revoked. We'll see when can be revoked. So the offerer can revoke his offer before it is accepted. If you remember, yesterday we have learned Sir William Anson. What did he say? Acceptance to offer is what a lighted matchstick to a train of gunpowder. So that powerful it is. Is it? So similarly, the moment the other party accepts, it turns out to be a contract with all the legal obligations. So an offerer can revoke an offer only before the acceptance. Got it? So that's the key. You can remember this way. Only before the acceptance he can revoke. If he does, the offeree cannot create a contract. Yeah, once before accepting, the offeree the offerer can revoke his offer, right? And after revoking, the offeree cannot do anything against it. Though the offeree says I've accepted it, the moment it is revoked, though you accept, it doesn't turn out to be a contract. Okay. Here we have an example. The bidder of an auction sale may withdraw his bid. So there's an auction sale happening. You bid something for 1 lakh. Before the fall of hammer, if you can take back, then before the acceptance, if you can take back that you have offered for 1 lakh. So fall of the hammer is acceptance in the case of auction sale, right? So before the fall of hammer, if you can revoke, then only then that would be cancelled. Otherwise, you'll have to pay for whatever you have bid. And an offer may be revoked by the offerer before its acceptance. Yes, even though he had originally agreed to hold it. Yeah, in sometimes there might be a condition saying that we'll keep the offer open for 1 week or something like that. Though there is some period given, the moment you revoke, that offer is no more. That's it. It can be withdrawn before the acceptance anytime. To understand that, here X offered to Y to sell 50 bales of cotton. Okay. And he said, I'll keep it open until 6 p.m. But before Y gave his acceptance, that is before 6 p.m. and before Y gave his acceptance, X sold his cotton bales to Z. That means X has revoked the offer. In this case, now Y cannot compel X to sell the cotton bales because before giving the acceptance at any time X can revoke. So following that, he revoked before Y gave his acceptance. So in this case, the decision will be in favor of X because he revoked before the acceptance. Had he revoked after the acceptance, then decision would be in favor of Y. So this is revocation and all that. So yeah.